XDefiant is launching in exactly 1 week. Let's talk about some things you should know before the game launches, including some tips and tricks, and just a few other things to consider. If this is your first time here, welcome, and if you are returning, welcome back. If you are invested in XDefiant, let me know what you are looking forward to the most about this Ubisoft title. Is it the absence of SBMM? Is it the addition of input-based matchmaking? Whatever the case, let us know down below. So first things first, understand this is not Call of Duty. No, I am not saying stop comparing XDefiant to Call of Duty. I know that is just how things are. But when this game launches, like it or not, let's let XDefiant be XDefiant and let's let Call of Duty be Call of Duty. It seems like a lot of people from the COD community are really adamant about the fact that they don't care about XDefiant or that the game will flop or whatever. If you don't like XDefiant, simply just don't invest your time, don't engage. Continue playing Call of Duty, it's as simple as that. That being said, XDefiant has a different development focus. Ubisoft's take on a competitive first-person shooter with its own blend of gameplay mechanics and updates. It has been noted for its quick implementation of community feedback during the beta phases, which is an absolute W. I think XDefiant will go a long way if developers continue taking into consideration community feedback. It also has an interesting set of game dynamics. While XDefiant shares a first-person shooter genre with Call of Duty and other games such as Valorant and Battlefield, it aims to bring back smooth, fluid movement mechanics that some players feel recent Call of Duty titles lack. XDefiant also seems to have separate community goals. The executive producer over at Ubisoft, Mark Rubin, has stated that the game is not trying to kill Call of Duty, but rather offer an alternative for players looking for something similar yet distinct. That is something that I have been saying since the beginning. I don't think the developers over at Ubisoft are trying to compete with Call of Duty like a lot of us may think. It is simply supposed to be a change of pace from the current Call of Duty titles, in my opinion. Let me know what you think down below though. XDefiant is also showing interesting marketing positioning. XDefiant has shown early signs of success, surpassing Call of Duty in Twitch viewership during a couple of the beta weekends. This suggests that it could carve out its own niche in a competitive field. Another thing I've been saying is I do think down the line, hopefully sooner than later, XDefiant will have its own community separate from the Call of Duty community. For example, you don't see too many people in the Valorant community caring too much about COD players, or COD intel for that matter. I think maybe a couple of years down the line, this will be the case with XDefiant as well. Ultimately, while comparisons are natural due to genre similarities, XDefiant is striving to establish its own identity in the gaming community. It's about providing players with more options and experiences rather than directly competing with the established franchise and household name like Call of Duty. Next, when you go ahead and fire up XDefiant, I highly suggest you dial in your settings. Dialing in your settings when XDefiant launches is crucial for players for several reasons. Some examples: optimized performance. Proper settings ensure that the game runs smoothly on the player's system, maximizing FPS and minimizing screen tearing and lag, which is essential for a competitive first-person shooter. It also calls for enhanced visibility. Adjusting graphic settings can significantly improve visibility, allowing players to spot enemies and other visual cues. Also, personalized control. Every player has different preferences for control sensitivity and key bindings. Customizing these settings can lead to better in-game reflexes and comfort. It can also give you a competitive edge. Fine-tuning settings like the FOV or field of view can give players a competitive advantage by enhancing their situational awareness and aim precision. And it also helps with hardware compatibility. Players do need to adjust their settings to match their hardware capabilities, especially on PC, ensuring that the game not only looks good, but also runs without technical issues. So my take is, if you're on PC, run your settings relatively low so you can get the best FPS if you want to prioritize performance over visuals. Next, if this is your cup of tea, engage in input optimized matchmaking. I personally don't care what input my teammates or enemies are using, but XDefiant is giving us the option to engage in input-based optimized matchmaking. Some people may find that this is more fair competition. It will ensure that players are matched with other players using the same input type, whether it be controller players with controller players, keyboard and mouse players with keyboard and mouse players, or maybe you use something weird like a Guitar Hero controller. So a lot of people that aren't a fan of different inputs in the game, this might enhance your experience a bit. And this next point, don't quote me on this, but I am hearing rumors that it can reduce latency, because obviously input will be part of the matchmaking system here. So I did hear that if you engage in input-based optimized matchmaking, they will really prioritize ping over everything else. Again, do not quote me on that. I'm making it very clear. Just keep that in mind. And if it turns out to be true, I'll double down on it. And to piggyback off of that, if you are on console, turn off crossplay. Players might want to disable crossplay when XDefiant launches for multiple reasons. Some players prefer to compete against players that are on the same platform to ensure a level playing field, especially if they believe that there are differences in performance or controls between platforms. Obviously on PC you are able to get better FPS, and on PlayStation 5 for example, you are only capped out at 120 FPS, which does inadvertently put you at a little bit of a disadvantage. But again, turning off crossplay is an option, so that's a good thing. Also, I don't want to say it, but it'll help you avoid cheaters. Crossplay can sometimes increase chances of encountering cheaters. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to cheat on Xbox or PlayStation, but I think it's significantly more difficult to cheat on console. And again, back to the matchmaking conversation, it may take you a little bit longer to find a game with cross-platform off, but I am hearing rumors once again the connection will be a bit more stable with less input delay. Next, build classes that work for you. Building classes that work for yourself in XDefiant is crucial because it allows you to tailor your gameplay to your personal preferences and strengths. So it is cool to get influence from your favorite content creators or streamers. I will most likely be making class setup videos myself, but my take is only use those as a blueprint and don't use those to completely just copy and paste as your own. You really might surprise yourself if you sit down and build your own class from the ground up, even if it's not quote-unquote meta. And it also seemed in the most recent PTS, most of the weapons were pretty balanced and you are able to have a pretty good competitive experience no matter what weapon you were using. It was all about how you use the weapon. And again, I'm not saying completely disregard metas. Definitely take advantage of it, especially if you are considering taking the competitive route. In that case, you will most likely end up having to use meta weapons. But there will be multiple things in XDefiant for you to choose from, so definitely exercise your critical thinking skills and creativity. Again, you might surprise yourself. Next, embrace the grind. Don't expect to be an absolute god at this game right away. Although we have been saying the name XDefiant for a long time, most of us don't even have 24 hours played on this game. We all still have a lot to learn. And understand that your grind will be different from everyone else's. You might have a much better first couple of weeks on XDefiant than your buddy, or vice versa. So keep that in mind and understand it is different strokes for different folks. Next, this one is kind of obvious and I might not even have to tell you guys, but squad up. I usually always say squad up, but in XDefiant at this point, I'm saying squad up more so for the experience than trying to get a competitive edge. And this is for any game. Simply having a squad to play with just makes the gaming experience so much better. And lastly, another thing you might want to do is invest in a good audio system for your setup. So let me put you on to my guys over at Waves Customs. Use Waves Custom Inners for gaming. Maybe you want to use it for the gym or even playing music like myself. You can get these fitted for your ears only just by 3D scanning them with your smartphone, both iPhone and Android. Not only does Waves crush it in the audio department, they also kill it as far as aesthetics. You can get them in almost any color. You can get damn near any logo printed on them. Maybe you want to rep your favorite esports team. Maybe you want to rep your favorite e-girl. Whatever the case is, these things are absolutely dominant. And I know some of you guys may have a headset dent. If you get Waves, you won't have to necessarily worry about that as much anymore. Check these guys out. It'll be the first link down in the description. If you think there is anything else we should all consider when XDefiant launches, feel free to drop them down in the comments. Again, doesn't have to be tips or tricks. It could just be some in-game or community intel. If you dug the content, I'll drop 2 more videos for you right here. And consider subscribing as we chase down our first 1,000 subs here on the channel. Let's go ahead and make it happen. Thank you all for your time. All y'all take care, and I'm out.